Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi dinar. If you want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. In today's update, we're analyzing a statement that suggests many things are lining up toward a potential increase in the value of Iraq's currency. The comment highlights the expected formation of Iraq's government, references regional political developments, and connects these factors to the possibility of changes in the budget and exchange rate. While the tone of the statement is optimistic, it's important to break this down carefully and examine what is actually supported by economic fundamentals, policy structure, and historical patterns within Iraq's financial system. Let's begin with the most critical point mentioned, the formation of Iraq's government. This is indeed one of the most important variables when assessing the direction of the Iraqi dinar. Iraq operates within a political framework where government formation directly impacts fiscal policy, budget approval, and economic reform execution. When there is political stability and a fully functioning government, it allows key institutions, such as the Central Bank and Ministry of Finance, to coordinate effectively. Without a completed government structure, major financial decisions tend to slow down or remain in a holding pattern. This includes budget approvals, public spending strategies, and any structural reforms tied to currency policy. So in that sense, the idea that government formation could influence economic momentum is accurate. Stability builds confidence not only domestically, but also among international investors and financial institutions. However, it's important to clarify that government formation alone does not automatically lead to a revaluation or increase in currency value. The Iraqi dinar is managed under a controlled exchange rate system, and any adjustments would require a combination of macroeconomic improvements, including stable inflation, strong foreign reserves, consistent oil revenue, and a balanced fiscal outlook. Now, the statement also connects government formation with the national budget. This is another important relationship to understand. Iraq's budget is heavily dependent on oil revenues, and it reflects the government's spending priorities, including infrastructure, salaries, subsidies, and development projects. When a new government is formed, one of its first major responsibilities is to either pass a new budget or adjust the existing one. The idea that the budget could reveal insights into exchange rate direction comes from the fact that certain fiscal assumptions are built into budget planning. For example, oil price estimates, revenue projections, and deficit targets all influence how the government manages its finances. In some cases, discussions around exchange rate policy may appear in broader economic reform plans, especially if the country is aiming to diversify its economy or reduce dependence on imports. That said, budgets themselves do not typically announce new exchange rates. Instead, they reflect the current financial framework. Any change in the exchange rate would be a decision taken by the central bank, often in coordination with broader economic strategy, and not simply embedded as a surprise within budget documents. Another part of the statement references regional developments, specifically mentioning Iran as a secondary factor. While regional dynamics can influence Iraq's economy, especially given trade relationships and geopolitical considerations, Iraq's currency policy remains primarily driven by domestic economic conditions and internal financial governance. It is true that Iraq operates within a complex regional environment, and cross-border trade, energy agreements, and political relationships can all have indirect effects on economic stability. However, linking another country's political formation directly to Iraq's currency value would be an oversimplification. The Central Bank of Iraq focuses on maintaining price stability, managing inflation, and ensuring liquidity in the financial system, rather than reacting directly to external political timelines. Now, let's talk about the phrase, adding value to the currency. This is often interpreted in different ways, and it's important to distinguish between nominal exchange rate changes and real economic value. A currency can strengthen in real terms through increased purchasing power, lower inflation, and improved economic productivity, even if the official exchange rate remains stable. For Iraq, strengthening the dinar in a sustainable way would involve long-term reforms such as diversifying the economy beyond oil, improving private sector growth, enhancing banking infrastructure, and increasing foreign investment. These are gradual processes that take time and require consistent policy implementation. In the short term, what we can realistically look for are signs of stability rather than sudden shifts. This includes steady oil revenues, controlled inflation, stable foreign reserves, and continued efforts by the central bank to manage the currency effectively. These indicators provide a foundation for confidence, but do not necessarily signal immediate changes in the exchange rate. From a long-term perspective, Iraq does have potential for economic growth. The country holds significant natural resources, and there have been ongoing discussions about modernization, digital banking, and integration into global financial systems. If these reforms continue and are supported by political stability, they could gradually strengthen the overall economic environment. However, it's essential to remain grounded in how currency valuation works. Exchange rates are influenced by a wide range of factors, including trade balance, monetary policy, inflation rates, and global market conditions. Any meaningful adjustment would require alignment across these areas, not just political developments. The optimism expressed in the statement reflects a broader sentiment often seen among observers who are watching Iraq's progress closely. It's understandable, given that certain elements, like government formation and budget planning, are indeed key milestones. But optimism should always be balanced with a clear understanding of economic mechanisms. For Iraqi Dinar followers, the takeaway here is to focus on verified developments rather than expectations. Monitor official announcements from Iraq's central bank, pay attention to budget releases, and observe macroeconomic indicators. These provide a more reliable picture of where things are heading. It's also important to be cautious about language that suggests inevitability or certainty. Phrases like, "Who's too obvious," or "things are lining up," can create a sense of urgency or expectation that may not align with actual policy timelines. Financial markets, especially in emerging economies, tend to move based on data and decisions rather than perception. In practical terms, the short-term outlook for the Iraqi dinar is likely to remain stable, with gradual adjustments driven by economic conditions rather than sudden changes. The long-term outlook depends on sustained reform, political consistency, and effective economic management. As always, maintaining a balanced and informed perspective is key. Avoid making decisions based on speculation or unverified claims, and instead rely on credible sources and factual analysis. That's all for today's update. If you want to stay informed with responsible and factual Iraqi dinar news, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. This content is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice.